Thank you so much for watching. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to hit that subscribe button. It will make sure you're notified when our videos come out. We upload multiple times per week and you won't want to miss out. Now on to today's scary story. For nearly 2 decades, I have traversed dusty libraries, cathedral basements, and forgotten hamlets across Europe, searching for slivers of truth buried beneath layers of myth. But few stories have haunted me like the tale of Raventhorpe, a now abandoned English village hidden deep in the mists of Yorkshire, where the church bells have not rung for over 300 years, decree of the crown, and yet on some moonless nights, locals claim to still hear them. Let me take you back to the year 1692, a time of war, famine, and religious upheaval. Raventhorpe was a prosperous village by medieval standards centered around St. Ethurida's church, a towering Gothic structure whose silver-cast bells were said to be a gift from a Templar knight, blessed to ward off evil. But in the autumn of that year, something changed. One evening, just as the harvest moon rose blood-red in the sky, the bells rang 13 times, not 12, not 6, 13. In Christian tradition, the number 13 is often associated with betrayal, the Last Supper, and misfortune. But in Raventhorpe, the number took on an entirely different meaning: death. That night, the entire clergy vanished. When townsfolk broke into the rectory the next morning, they found no sign of struggle. No blood, no bodies, just the scent of incense and damp earth. Most unsettling was that the bell tower had been sealed from within, the heavy oak trap door bolted shut. It would remain that way for centuries. The villagers appealed to the Church of England and eventually to the Crown, fearing the devil's work. Within a week, King William III issued a decree: let no bell toll in Raventhorpe, lest silence be broken by evil itself. The village slowly emptied. Crops failed. Livestock died or fled into the forest. By 1701, the last recorded inhabitant, a widow named Mary Ann Golden, disappeared into the woods, her diary ending with the line, "They whisper in the bell tower again." Chapter 2. My Visit. Fast forward to 2017. After tracking down parish records and surviving fragments of Golden's diary, I made the pilgrimage to Raventhorpe myself. It took 2 days of hiking through thickets and moss-covered paths to find the church. Surprisingly intact, though clearly touched by time, the tower still loomed like a silent sentinel over empty fields. But the door, sealed shut 3 centuries ago, was open. Inside the nave, the stone altar had collapsed. The air was unnaturally cold, though it was late July. The spiral staircase to the tower was dangerously unstable, but I climbed it step by cautious step. At the top, I found the bells, all 3 of them untouched, unscathed, their ropes long since rotted away. But then I noticed something carved into the inner rim of each bell, a name. Not saints, not martyrs, villagers: John Tilver, Abigail Hearn, Father Meredith. All 3 were names listed as vanished in 1692. These were not just bells, they were vessels. Chapter 3. The Whispering Hour. I stayed overnight at a makeshift camp, just outside the church, recording notes and taking photos. At exactly 3:03 a.m., a time known in old superstition as the Devil's Hour, I heard it, a single bell toll, not the wind. The rope lay unmoved. The bell hadn't shifted, but the sound had been clear, low, and chillingly close. Then came the whispering, faint, unintelligible, like murmurs spoken through stone. I followed the sound down to the crypt beneath the church, where I found 3 stone coffins unmarked but sealed with wax, bearing the same sigil found on the bell: a serpent devouring its own tail, the Ouroboros symbol of eternal return, endless cycles, or was it possible the spirits of those villagers had been bound into the bells themselves, cursed to toll until released? I fled at dawn. Chapter 4. The Unsolved Curse. Since that visit, I've returned to Raventhorpe twice, each time finding subtle changes: moss scraped off symbols, footprints in the dust that weren't mine, and once, most disturbingly, I found an open coffin in the crypt, empty. I don't know whether I believe in curses or ghosts, but I do know history remembers what it can explain and buries what it cannot. Raventhorpe is one of those buried places. No GPS, no records past 1701, just local folklore and a ringing that should not be heard. To this day, no one has removed or destroyed the bells. Perhaps out of fear, perhaps respect. But if you ever find yourself wandering the woods of Yorkshire and hear 3 slow tolls past midnight, don't follow the sound. Some stories should remain untold. Thank you for listening to the Silent Bells of Ravensthorpe. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to hit that like button. Also, make sure to stay tuned for more terrifying tales.